Remember, we were talking about it before. If you remember, forecasts expected that the UK would be the weakest growing economy in 2019 of the compared with the Eurozone countries. That is actually reversed completely. And now what we have is, on one side, we have Germany showing 1 quarter already of contraction. The industrial production figures, the European economic sentiment that came out yesterday was also very poor. Now industrial production in France, obviously they're going to blame it on the weather or on the Gilets jaunes, you name it. But the reality is that this has been an undoing that has been going on for a while. The Eurozone has been posting net negative economic data for at least, that I'm thinking of, 12 months. So the entire last year and at the beginning of this year. So we are going to see much further, much larger downgrades to growth for the main Eurozone economies.
Early last year, it felt as though France was the great ray of hope, that if Macron could manage to deliver his project, reform at home, reform abroad, then you might have some confidence around the Eurozone. Now, some of that hope seems to have faded given what's happened with many of the partners around Europe, the Germans namely. We've had a fracturing in the coalition, and then domestic problems at home that he can't seem to solve. There's no way out of the solution. So how negative is it for psychology, sentiment around Europe, that France cannot seem to make any progress?
It is negative for sentiment. It was very predictable. We talked about it here, that it was very, very unlikely that Macron would deliver on the reforms that he was promising, because we had seen it in the past. We saw it with Sarkozy. We saw it in many occasions. So, but it is.
Protests morphed. They weren't just unions. They were.
I agree.
They were different. They were this
I agree.
Mob of people that didn't have a real leader.
I agree, and the reality has been extremely disappointing. The polls show very low support for Macron, but I think that the underlying problem remains that the Eurozone has completely abandoned all structural reforms and bet everything on monetary policy. And monetary policy stopped working in terms of delivering growth.
You've had your 2 hours, that's it, my friend.
That's it.
Thank you very much. Glad you went right to the end. Tomorrow is Giles Keating as guest host from Werfstein Institute. We'll all be here.